What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. It's the weekend, and I'm giving you guys a weekend update. If you weren't aware, and if you're not following me on Twitter, on Thursday evening, I had posted that barring any incredibly insane news happening tomorrow, I'll be taking the day off from making a video. I realized that I've only had one day off per week for the last couple of weeks. My brain needs some R&R, but anything crazy happens, it may be hard to stay away. It was hard to stay away. I still recorded a video yesterday morning, but I did not end up posting it. And I said, you know what? Take a break. Take a break. But hey, I've got some free time right now. My family just left the house for a little while, so I figured we'll talk about what's going on here in the cryptocurrency markets. On Thursday, we had posted looking for that to be the bottom of Bitcoin. So far, so good. It has been holding that price level. We are seeing that from a trend line perspective, not huge on trend lines. It does have the breakout of the trend line at this point, so things are looking good. I would expect that we would still see some type of rolling over that would happen, and we're going to consolidate here for a little while. I won't be surprised if we come back to about $53,000 over the course of the next couple of days or throughout the weekend. But all signs are looking good to see that that price level is still held. Expectations remain the same in that, hey, we're probably just going to continue sideways for a while and then looking for that final reach out to, $70,000 to $80,000 before it alt season can really get set to sail, right? One thing to look at as well, if we kind of draw a little bit of just a trend channel in which we're following in right here as well, you can see that was the touch of the bottom of the trend channel. Now, a lot of times it's hard to look at these things. I don't really love to use trend lines very much or trend channels very much, but usually when you get one hit on the top, you get two hits on the top, and then you get two hits on the bottom. A lot of times we just roll back up to this midline, and then we could still continue going sideways for a while until finally it comes out a little bit later. So I'm not too set on this actual trend channel, but I did want to point out to you that it is still residing within it, and this bottom did happen to hit right there on the bottom of the trend channel. We'll keep an eye on that. This is really more of just kind of forecasting time. I'm not huge on forecasting time because I typically get it wrong. But as for the bottom holding, the bottom did hold right there. So far, so good. As for the altcoins, well, the XRP price chart sure popped out of there, didn't it? It got all the way down to 45 cents, then got all the way back up to nearly 58 cents. And so we're at 55 today. You guys know it. The thing is, we could just continue ranging in here and being crazy until the altcoin market disconnects from Bitcoin. And still, all things are going to matter. Wow, we got yellow today. There we go, green. Nothing's going to matter until we can actually get through this price level up in here. So we can get more and more excited as we do get up in there. We can draw trend lines all we want to and say, hey, look, it was probably just a breakout of the triangle with a back test of the triangle. Now we're moving our way up. It's just going to be a wait and see. But getting through 60 cents will be exciting. That is the top level that did hold us down just a few days ago. But then, of course, we've got more levels up in here. We've got retracement levels all the way up into here. But from a 702 perspective on the retracement for XRP, that price level is going to be right there at about 63 cents, the same level that really held us down. And you can see both times we did wick above it 3 separate times. So just wicking above it isn't good enough on this 4-hour chart. We at least want to see the price get above 63.5 cents and then hold it. And then not only that, but let's get above 66, 67 cents and then hold that on the candle close as well. But of course, nothing really matters till we get up here. And that says 75 cents right there on the right side of the screen, but really we're looking for 80. But to start getting like optimistic of like, hey, were we taking a stab at it? Well, getting through these levels are going to be the first ones. So that's going to be 63.5 cents and 66.5 cents. Like I mentioned throughout the week, we've kind of seen these narratives forming of really like they're starting to really push that narrative on mainstream media of inflation. I even saw a post yesterday, or maybe it was even today on Twitter, like, are you going to sell into US dollars? And all the people responding are saying, no, why would I ever sell into US dollars? And I can totally tell that's going to be the thing that's going to make it the hardest for people to sell when these prices start taking off. And I know I've got the XRP price chart here. I'm rambling onto a different direction, but it's kind of that same theme that we talked about all week, that they're going to really push this inflation narrative and they're going to push this whole thing of the dollar's in trouble, right? So what does that mean? It forces a bunch of people to buy the stock market. They could sit there and say, hey, buy stocks all they want, but that's not going to work to the extent of creating an inflation fear, a fear of owning dollars. So that means that people are going to buy, and I think we're going to see mainstream people really try to run away from the dollar, and that's going to be our narrative. That's going to be the propulsion system for these altcoins to take off, to have the blow off top over there in Bitcoin, probably blow off top over there in the stock market. and everybody is going to be scared to sell into US dollars because that's going to be the narrative that's driven into them. And that's a total deviation of what we're talking about here on this chart. But I think that's going to be the propulsion of what we see when this thing finally blasts out of there. Is there's going to be this mass fear of the US dollar. And for the last week or two, I've been trying to really drive home that point that I'm going to be ignoring that fear. I'm going to be ignoring that narrative. And I know the same thing is going to happen to me that happened when I was selling my Bitcoin. People are going to say you're a dingus. They're going to say you're a dummy. You can say you don't know what you're doing. And especially when this thing comes to a roaring end, is going to be, hey, I'm selling into the dollar. And it's going to be like, well, how dumb are you? Why would you get those dollars? But the reason the prices went so high is because of fear of the dollar. It went disproportionately too high. And I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see things like XRP completely blast out of here, head to $10, which would be a disproportionate gain in comparison to the loss of the value of the dollar. If the dollar loses 10% of its value, but XRP goes up by 2,000%, is that a proportionate change? No, it's way weighted to one side. Same thing goes with a lot of the altcoins, right? Like 2 weeks ago, I showed a lot of what my exit plans are on a lot of the different altcoins that I have, that I picked ones that I think have the highest potential for the most percentage. And I think those percentages will vastly outweigh the devaluation of the US dollar that we're going to see. But the video that I recorded yesterday that I did not end up uploading was still kind of a continuation of the things that I said all week, but I was real tired, right? I'm like, oh man, I've been going. I checked it like in 18 days. There was only 2 days where I didn't make a video. So I was kind of tired while I was talking. I was like, oh, gosh, I need to take a break. But I really think we're starting to see that narrative form for what's going to happen when these altcoins explode, and that we're going to see this mad dash to cryptocurrency based on the mainstream media has now been given the green light to go ahead and start shoving the inflation narrative down people's throats. And that's going to create a fear of owning US dollars. And so as these prices pump, people are also going to be scared to actually sell in the pump and sell into the rising prices, because they will also have fear if they sell, they're going to be buying something, the US dollar, that's going to be crashing. So be careful of that narrative now coming. Be careful of that fear. It's up to you and whatever you want to do, but I try to look to these things to the future. People say I'm from the future. It's not that I'm from the future, it's that I'm looking to the future. I see the repetitive patterns of retail investor behavior, and I see the repetitive patterns of media-driven narratives. And right now, the media-driven narrative that I think is going to happen as we go into this alt season, we go into these crazy pumps, is it's going to be this inflation fear. It's going to be this fear of the US dollar, and we're going to watch everything just skyrocket, and we're also going to see people be totally terrified to sell because they don't want to get dollars. Ignore narratives, right? That's what I would say. Ignore narratives, right? Why would anything, blockchain backer, you have ridiculous price predictions. Why would you think any of that's ever going to happen? Why would anybody ever pay those types of prices? Because they're scared of owning their dollars. They're scared of having cash. They say, look, everything else is going up in a green line. Meanwhile, my cash is going down. I need to at least buy them. Even if they're expensive, they're probably going to keep going up. So I'm just going to buy them so I'm not holding on to dollars. Doesn't matter what the price is. But I just wanted to plant that seed in your head to start thinking about that, because we're starting to see that real narrative start to form, that lots of people are starting to get scared of inflation. And I think that's going to be a huge catalyst for the timing of when everything happens to occur. And I'll tell you what, I will get called a dingus 100 times, 1,000 times, probably based on what I've seen, probably 1,000 times called a dingus and a dummy for when it's time for me to sell and buy US dollars when these targets do end up getting hit. But I'm really excited. I still fully believe we're going to hit out to the targets that I'm looking for. I'm excited to see that Bitcoin was able to find some support back there the other day that we were looking for. We still have some work to do. Sideways price action is what we're really looking for with Bitcoin. We're looking for this thing to just keep on trucking sideways and for those altcoins to really disconnect from it now. But I think all of us should be excited about this whole narrative of inflation, because that's been the thing that we've been waiting for, right? Getting in here super early is the altcoin market cap up 1,600% in the last year, right? Since March. We've been looking for that big narrative to come. The question is, are you going to buy into the narrative? Are you going to believe that the US dollar is going to crash to zero, and when all those amazing prices get offered, you throw all plans out the window and say none of the plans matter anymore because the dollar's crashing. The whole world knows it. And the thing is, all those people that you've been telling for all these years about cryptocurrency and everything, they're finally going to say you were right the whole time. And then what's going to happen when they finally tell you you're right? You're sitting down at the dinner table, you're eating with your grandma, you're eating with your cousins. They're all like, man, you had it all figured out all along. I finally bought some cryptocurrency. You're going to sit there and say, actually, you know what? I just sold mine and I got some US dollars. Wait, what? The dollar is crashing. Don't you understand? How could you be so dumb? Just like you were super dumb for buying the bottom, they will think you're super dumb for selling the top. But that's the name of this game. You have to see that stuff happening way ahead of time. That's why the DXY, inflation's been a focus of this channel since its inception. But I think that is actually going to be what our narrative is as these markets start to really pump. And I think it's because we're watching these media outlets really start to get people scared. They're going to use the fear narrative of inflation. And the fear of inflation means they have to buy assets. The question is, will you buy into the narrative? Inflation is here. It's been happening. I'm not denying that because that was the whole reason I got into this market in the first place. The thing is, when the masses figure it out, when the masses get the narrative jammed down their throat by the mainstream media, it's because the mainstream media has kept that quiet and kept it hush for a long time, and it's finally time to let the mainstream audiences know. It's time to let the mainstream audiences buy the assets and for the big boys to sell them to them. So I am excited. I do think this is what's going to happen and what this big fear pump is going to be. It's going to be a fear of dollars. People are going to be dumping their dollars to buy any types of assets. And so, all right, I didn't even really provide you any type of weekend update either way. I hope you like what I had to say. Kind of a Saturday afternoon ramble. I actually been paying my taxes today. I've been working on it all week. I think that's why I also got real tired. I've been doing my taxes. Every time I make a video, right when I'm done, I go to working on my taxes for the rest of the day. And today, I filed them and paid them. But all right, so what do we got going on? Bitcoin found its support. That's fantastic. A lot of the altcoins really popped off those bottoms as well, but I still think we're just in some consolidation. So for the short-term price action to sit here and say there's much exciting going on here, not too much exciting, especially when I consider that we're probably just going to go flat and probably still have a little bit of pulling back to do. So don't be, my expectations are pretty low that we're going to have anything crazy happen, but hey, maybe we'll get surprised. But my expectations are sideways. I think the really opportune thing to do during this time period is, for me, it's always about having conviction on which way are we going, right? My conviction is that we're going to be going to the upside. So I don't even sit here and start second guessing myself and worrying about what's going to happen if we go down. I say, my conviction is to the upside. What do I think is going to happen and how am I going to play it out that way? If we go to the downside, the only thing I do is hold, right? There's no actions for me to take to the downside. I just hold and ride it out and wait it out and, wait until everything recovers and then, we start going again. But for going to the upside, I start thinking about, what are my actions going to be? What do I think the market's going to look like? And so right now, with it being sideways and it being kind of boring in the markets, it's this opportunity to really kind of see what are things going to be like, right? What kind of mental preparations can I do with my time right now that isn't just wasting my time sitting there watching the price charts, waiting for something to happen? The things that I can start doing is start mentally preparing myself for what is the market going to look like at the time. What did we see recently when Bitcoin was rising up back over here? We got a really good taste of what euphoric markets kind of taste like. And I think it'll be even more than that when the time does come. But there may be that additional thing with it attached to it that it's not just going to be euphoria and excitement for the people who are riding way up, but all the new people who are pouring into the market are going to be people who are fully terrified of owning any US dollars. And then at the same time, as the price targets start getting reached, that people don't want to sell into dollars. And I saw that over there on Twitter and I thought to myself, my goodness, if my audience thinks for 1 second that I'm scared of selling into US dollars, big misconception, because I fully believe the right play is going to be selling into US dollars when the time does come. I will not be buying into the fear narrative that I shouldn't own dollars. It doesn't matter what the devaluation of the dollar is. If it loses 10%, if it loses 20%, it doesn't matter because these assets will go disproportionately too high. And like we always see, they have large corrections on them. Let me ask you this. If you were going to buy, if you had to own one or two things, one thing that's going to go down by 10% or one thing that's going to go down by 60%, which one would you rather have? I would rather have the one that's only going to go down by 10%. So once these assets start firing off incredibly high, they're going to end up having some type of large correction, if not the end of cycle that could go into multi-year bear markets. Even if it's not that big of a correction that takes years to last and it's only short term and it lasts 6 to 8 months or something, still 60%, 70% losses are normal in the cryptocurrency market. What would you rather own? A dollar that's going to lose 10% or an asset that's going to lose 60 or 70? It's easy. It's just simple math. And I was looking through the comments of that tweet that I saw earlier today or yesterday. The days are blending at this point, and every single response was no, they're not going to be selling into US dollars and owning dollars because why would they own an asset that's losing value? And I just couldn't it's a clear misunderstanding of what markets do and how prices go up and prices go down. What was the better play? Like, first of all, I'm not the type of person who would day trade some type of smaller move like that. But let's pretend if you had sold you had sold your Bitcoin right here and then you bought it back right there. What was the better thing to own during that time period? During that time period, the US dollar was the better thing to own. First of all, I'm not promoting day trading. Most day traders lose. Most of them get wrecked and lose all of their money. But the same concept applies. If cryptocurrency goes on a massive bull run, eventually that bull run comes to an end. Straight lines up don't last forever. And large crashes happen. Every Bitcoin bull cycle has had like an 80% crash when the cycle is over versus the US dollar, right? Think about that. That's versus the US dollar. It performed 80% worse than the US dollar. So we have to assume that, right? Right now, it's been massively outperforming the US dollar. So it's great to be in it while it's outperforming the US dollar. But at some point, the outperformance has gotten too overheated, and eventually it's going to start losing value against the US dollar until it can find a support and then potentially go on to do another cycle. But there always is that time period where it's better to own US dollars. And so watch out for that narrative. I've already noticed on Twitter so many people are believing that they're never going to sell. On my channel, I try to make it very clear that I am going to be selling into US dollars when the time does come. Be very aware that the mainstream media is now starting to push an inflation agenda. My opinions on that are that they muffed that for the last couple of years. Now, as asset prices have all gotten very high, they're drawing in the general public to come buy them now. So careful out there. Still a lot of winning available for us, but I'm not changing anything about my plans. I'll absolutely sell into the US dollar when the time does come. So if that's against your belief system, careful, because that's what I'm going to be talking about as the days do come. But of course, all this talk is simply because I expect that the entire market is going to go absolutely nuts. All right, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead or while I'm behind. I don't even know at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and call it a weekend. I hope that you guys are having a great weekend. If you're looking for something to do for the rest of the weekend, of course, you can check out my website over here. It's bcbacker.com. This is where I've outlined all those plans that I have had ahead of time, understanding the previous Bitcoin bull runs, understanding the previous altcoin cycles, how all of them have worked together, when alt seasons have happened within the Bitcoin bull runs, and why I believe we're right there at that moment right now. I talk about forecasting, I talk about mathematics, rotation, percentages, and of course, I deep dive into some of my exit plans and how I figure out what my exit plans are for different altcoins. There's a downloadable spreadsheet in here that you can use and just a ton of information. I worked my heart out on it, and you can get this over here on bcbacker.com. You can follow me over here on Twitter at bcbacker. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're having a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you guys very soon. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.